today's gospel, something difficult to understand. Why Jesus is not answering, even the answer is very cold toward this helpless woman. Daughter is possessed by a demon, and she cannot, so helpless. But why Jesus? Something first reading and second reading we understand. First reading, it's my house is a house of prayer, so it is about something prayer. And the second reading, something repeating, it's mercy. And the way maybe we can understand, okay, first of all, it's something about prayer. We need to be insistent like this Canaanite woman. But why Jesus is so something not a good response? We think about what is the purpose of Jesus. And from this point, maybe we can understand whole purpose of Jesus. It's not just healing, but it is salvation. Salvation is not just I healed, I'm lucky, and by God's grace. Salvation is a relationship. Salvation is faith and trust. So it's a continuation relationship with Jesus. And that is a point, something Jesus continuing this conversation, communication with this Canaanite woman. And exactly that's a point we need to be persistent and insistent in a prayer. And this woman is a very wonderful example of prayer because she just first approached. And first she said, Lord, my daughter is tormented by a demon. Very helpless, but not for herself, but my daughter. And the first point, very helpless. And the second, she said, also she acted. She knelt before Jesus, Lord, help me. And that's a very humble. She knelt down before Jesus and begged again, Lord, help me. Very humble. And thirdly, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs. When she said maybe she has trust actually, Jesus will do something. She insisted. In the end, Jesus will grant my petition. Maybe she knew it. And thirdly, it is actually trust. And this helplessness, humility, and trust, and again come to Jesus. And that is something in our prayer life. We also feel like sometimes Jesus is not answering my prayer. And what can I do? Shall I give up or shall I continue? And that's something difficulty. But we should not give up. By approaching Jesus, actually Jesus is testing our faith. But at the same time, Jesus is forming us. That's the point. Jesus wants to form us to have more deeper relationship with Jesus, trust and faith. And without faith, trust, we cannot receive mercy. And their mercy comes. Without approaching, without trust, we cannot receive mercy. And that's the point. Jesus wants to continue to make a relationship with us. And we should not give up to come to Jesus. Just to appear before Jesus, Blessed Sacrament and Eucharist, again and again, to show up before Jesus. And by doing that, something Jesus, he's a divine teacher, forming us. And that's a point. So this story seems end is a healing, but not just healing. Maybe this woman, Canaanite woman, she's not like a chosen people of Israel. But why Jesus, she, in the end, Jesus said, great is your faith. Maybe this woman went to her people, Canaanite, and how much God is merciful. Maybe she proclaimed Jesus. And that's the point. Jesus wants to use us as instruments for salvation and proclaiming Jesus, his mercy. It's like a Samaritan woman, and I have seen the Lord. He knows everything about me, and he knows he must be the Messiah. Or after the resurrection, Mary Magdalene, I have seen the Lord. exactly, Jesus wants to send us. Jesus wants to make us instruments of salvation for others. So that's a point. I think this something Canaanite woman, great faith, as Jesus said. She's so firmly trusted. Jesus will answer, even when something in the process Jesus is something not answering, or even something cold answer, but she remained with Jesus. So I think that is an invitation for us to understand Jesus. He is the divine teacher, and he forms us to be more holy and to become instruments of salvation for others. So let us ourselves allow to be formed by Jesus, and in his hand let us be the instruments for others.